There's something missing on the inner door panel. When we look inside, there's no lock indicator. Some of you well know that when I replaced the window regulator, without taking the lock out, I couldn't quite get the indicator stalk wire to refit itself without breaking the door lock bracket. So now I'm going to put that right. I've saved all the bits, the little rubber bellows and the chrome indicator stalk that screws on the end of the wire. Whoops, where is it? Here it is. And it goes there, just like on the other side. Mine are chrome, yours might be just black plastic. So the important bit here is to take the door panel off and the lock together by utilising this bracket that fits onto the window carrier. Mine's actually broken, but what it's supposed to do is hold the lock in place as you take the carrier out. The lock fits onto this protrusion, which is normally a little bit longer than this, but as I said, mine's broken. What normally happens is when you undo the bolts to the door body and take off the carrier, the lock comes with it, connected by this bracket. And with that in turn comes the indicator stalk wire. So this complete system is quite important. And the bracket plays an important role as a critical assembly piece. And of course disassembly also. Unfortunately, these brackets are difficult to obtain, certainly from my experience online. I haven't tried the main dealer yet. Here's the part number for it. And when I've searched online, I can hardly find anywhere that sells these. And if they do, they're very expensive. So I think what I'm going to do is trying to fix this one. But first things first, I'll have to take the window regulator carrier off, which you've seen me do on other videos. So I don't really need to go through it here, as I'll leave a link at the end of the video and in the description. So I've got the door card off, so now I'm just going to reattach the window mechanism switch so I can move the window down into place to be able to detach it. So I've attached those two switches. Now I'm going to reattach the battery, put the key in the ignition, turn it on, and now I can activate the window glass, which I want to move down to these window ports so I can undo the clamps that hold the glass in place and then take the glass out. You don't have to do this, you can pull it back up and tape it up at the top of the door frame. I'm not going to do that, I'm just going to take it out. Store it somewhere safe for now. Take the rubber grommets off the end of the door panel. Slacken off the top one that are holding the lock barrel in place. Don't take it out or let it fall down inside the door. Then pull on the handle a little bit and grab the lock barrel, then turn the bottom T15 until the lock barrel comes out. Then undo the door lock bolts. I'm just going to loosen them for now and start taking the window carrier out. But first I need to detach the wires at the A-pillar. So I'm taking the bellows out, undo the connections, detach them, feed them through the bellows, put the bellows to one side, and now to remove the window carrier. So you need to undo all the bolts and detach everything. I should have detached the electrical connections before I took the panel off really, but I forgot. Easy mistake. Detach the wires on the back of the carrier, and then there's a cable that goes to the lock which you need to detach as well. Right, I've got the carrier out, now I can take the lock out. Got the bolts out. Oh, it's not coming out. Oh, it's holding on the little wire that's inside the door handle, which I should have disconnected first. If you pull on the handle, you can see that there's a little wire that fits into a little grub plug that needs just prising out gently, and then the lock will detach. Here's the lock. Right, that's everything out. Let's get the bracket. It's normally got 3 plastic lugs on this, but they've broken off, so I'm going to have to sort of put some bolts on it, I think. This is where it goes on the window carrier. Then this little protrusion fits into the lock. Somehow. I've actually got this upside down, actually. It's the other way around. But you get the idea. It fits into this slot here. Ah, and there's the other bit to it, the end bit. Oh, I didn't know where that. I thought I just lost that. I might be able to do something with it now. As I said, this is upside down. But I'm glad to retrieve that little end piece. I might be able to stick that on somehow. And this is my modified indicator stick bracket. I initially broke it and then I reformed it with another hole further down, but it's not ideal. And yes, it started to chuck it down. Oh, crikey. I'm off in. Take these to the workshop and see what I can do. Right, we've got it on the bench now. Now this is the way the bracket goes. This side round, and the end goes into that slot. And I've only got a little bit, of course. Goes up to a little shoulder on the protrusion. So this little bit that's broken off fits onto here. I think it's the only bit, there's not a middle bit or anything. I think that's about the right length. It's got a little catch at the end, just here, to sort of lock it in place. And it fits together, yeah, that's it. There's no other bit, it's just that piece. You can tell, yeah, you can tell that's where it was broken in the first place. So that's the correct length. Good, so I don't have to extend it at least. But if I just melt this on, it'll be very weak, so that's no good. So I need some method of reinforcing it. So I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to reinforce it with some wire somehow. I've got a bit of wire here. So I need to shove that in there somehow. Maybe a couple of little bits. Push it in. This should work. Just need to heat the wires up to melt it into place. I better use a pair of pliers. There's the first one in place. And the second one, that went in easy. Right, I'll just cut them to length. Now the tricky part. Heat it up. Shove it on. They're not going quite far enough in. Better take that off quickly. Right, I'll do it again. Heat it up a bit more this time. Yeah, that's got it. Nice and flat and straight, that's okay. Just a slight gap. That seems pretty strong really, as it is. I'm just going to melt the gap now, so I fuse the plastic together a bit. And I can do that with a soldering iron, or soldering gun is what I use for this. You've probably seen me do this on other videos. So we're just heating the plastic up just enough to melt it and fuse it together. That's it. I'm happy with that. That's gone all right. Moment of truth. Does it work? Slots in the right length. The clip's engaged. And you hold it up like this. That's simulating its installation mode, or whatever you call it. It's just a bit top heavy. It's this top piece that's been damaged as well, so I'm gonna have to do something with that, I think. There's a little hole, so it's supposed to locate in that hole, the top bit, so that will make it a lot stronger. So I'll do something with that. So I'll get a bit of ABS plastic off an ice cream tub lid, fuse that on first. Right, that'll do. Now I need to reinforce it because it's very weak, is that. Put some stainless steel mesh into it. And this is very fiddly and small. It's really difficult actually. And it's at this stage, some might say it's not worth bothering about. Just buy a new one. Well, that's what I can't do. They're too expensive, so I'm fixing this one. I can't be bothered to go to a scrapyard and find one. So I'll just fuse that mesh into the plastic. Doesn't have to be a neat job, just has to be functional. So I put the mesh on both sides and here's the result. It's not too bad, I just need to drill a hole in it now. So I didn't film that, but here we are. Here's it in position. I put a drill bit in to go through the hole, and that works now. So I'll probably just put a little nut and bolt in that, or a little plug. See if it holds up. Ah yeah, it does. That's a lot better. That should work. That's quite a good job actually, in my opinion. I'm pleased with that. Now let's have a look at this indicator bracket thing. As you can see, I've repaired it a couple of times. I've melted extra holes in it, and to be honest, I don't fancy repairing this because I don't know how to do. It's a bit too fiddly and complex, and if I melt some plastic off the body, it'll cause a hole into it, into the lock mechanism, and then that'll leak with water and it'll fail again. So I'm not going to bother because these things aren't that expensive, usually under 20 quid. So I'll chuck that and order a new one. Just got to wait for it now with a hole in my window. That'll do for now. And here's the new one. Not exactly the same, slightly different coloured parts, Put all the bits in the right place. Neither of these are OEM quality, but they are manufactured to the same specification. But as you can see, they're virtually identical. I did notice a slight difference where the microswitch fits, which I'll show you later on in the video. Now I just need to take this cable off. You just pull it out of that holder there, and then it's hooked in at 90 degrees to get it out on the bracket. I'll just show you that up close. So it's slotted, so it'll fit in one way, and then you turn it the other way and it'll hold in place. Put that onto the new one. So you want to be in this position, push it down and then turn it, and then it'll line it up with the bracket, and push it into the bracket where the shoulder is, into the slot. Now just push it home firmly. There we go. Here's the indicator arm. Now that fits onto the new plastic bracket, the reason I bought this thing for. As you can see, just slot that in there, and then that arm covers it to hold it in place, where mine was a bit sloppy. This is quite firm now, so that's all good. Now I just got the little wire to put on. You just lift up the arm and then tease out the little locating lug by turning it to one side. Put that in the new one. Just kind of hooks into place. Fairly straightforward really. So we're ready to go now. Oh, and there's one difference with this one compared to the older one. The micro switch, which is here, is held in by these two little plastic rivet things that go through the metal. But on the older one, there's a metal band that goes around this and clips it all into place to hold it firmly. This one doesn't have that. It just seems to be held in by the plastic rivets that just push through the metal. So it's a little bit more delicate. But I put the bracket on and it won't clip on because there isn't the recess in the metal work. So I can't even retrofit the old one on. I suppose I could cut a little hole, I suppose. But I'm not going to do. It's supposed to be firm enough, so that'll do for me. I'm not worried about it. I'm sure it'll hold up that. Right, time to put that bracket on, the window carrier. I found 3 nut and bolts that'll do for the job. Just got to put it on the right way around, like so. Tighten that up. That's firm enough now. Just need to put the door lock on now. Insert the cable through this hole and this one with the indicator wire, and then we want to fit it on this assembly hanger. Make sure it's the right way around. Push that on and locate the rubber grommet, seating it nicely in the carrier all the way around. Put that little plastic peg in and secure it. Put the other rubber grommet bellows onto the indicator stalk and fit it into the carrier. Right, I just need to attach the electrical cable now. Make sure it clicks into place. And we're all ready to go. One thing I like to do is bend this handle wire nodule thing and bend it and just rest it on the door lock so it's easy to fish out when you put it in place. And then of course you've got to get the wiring loom through the A-pillar bit on the door, but you can't do that first. You need to put the panel in like this, lower the left hand side down, and then insert the lock and the window winding bracket in first. And then it'll slot up a little bit, and then you can get the wiring loom in place. Make sure you put the wiring loom to the fore side of the glass felt runner for the window, the slider mechanism. So feed those wires through. Here's the felt guide that you must put those wires in front of. Now you can lift the carrier into place. You'll see the lock goes up to the lock hole in the door. And there's two locating tags on either side of the carrier, one here and another one at this side. They go into holes in the body of the door. So try and jiggle the spigots into place. And then it's all aligned, so then you need to put the first bolt in, or your first rivet. Now I'm turning to the A-pillar and the wires. We need to feed them through the bellows, which is really difficult. I don't know if anybody knows an easier way of doing this, but it seems to take me ages to do it. You kind of put one connector through at a time, but then all together as well, maybe in a line or something, and then just manipulate the rubber until it eventually comes through, and they all come through. But it seems really difficult on this. It took me about 8.5 minutes to do it, but it felt like half an hour. Then attach all the other connections. Make sure they're seated nicely. Attach the wire going to the mirror. And a little speaker connection. And now we can turn our attention to the lock. Fish the little wire out and the little grub plug. Attach the lock with the two bolts. Loosely to start with. You should put some Loctite on these really. And with the handle closed, you want to just rest and push the little plug into this little slot without any tension on it or not too relaxed. Insert the lock barrel. And wind the lower T15 screw fully in clockwise. As you do so, you'll hear a sort of click, and then you can fasten the top T20 screw. And that just grips onto the lock barrel. Replace the rubber grommets. Now I'm going to fit the connectors to the A-pillar and then push home the rubber bellows. Be careful on the catches because they can break. Now before I'm going any further, I'm just going to test it to see if it works. So I'll go and reattach the battery. Yeah, it works. So I'm going to move the glass carrier brackets into the hole windows as they've moved a bit. And then reinstall the glass. Obviously be careful reinstalling the glass using your super ninja techniques. And then look in the windows and carefully lower down the glass into the brackets. You have to be careful with these to get them in between the rubbers. You might have to push the brackets a little bit with your fingers. It's not easy to see. Probably best doing it with a torch. Now I'm going to replace all the bolts. Then I get my torque wrench and then torque them all up so they're all evenly torqued, which is very important because if you had a side impact, you want the door to react all evenly in the same way, which is what it was designed to do. When you're tightening onto the glass, you've just got to get a feel for it. It's got to be tight enough to grip the glass without it moving, but obviously not too tight. You're going to damage something, and obviously not slack so it dislodges from the glass. I think there is some torque settings, but I don't think they're worth following. I think it's better to do it by feel. That's just my opinion. And now all there is to do is to put the door card back on. I need to put a new one of these little clips in to keep breaking. It's good to have some spares of these. What I like to do is tie a little bit of cord to these two electrical connections so I can feed them through when I'm putting the door card back on. Makes it a little bit easier. Fit the door safety light and then connect it. Put the little connections through with the little cords. Attach the indicator light. Oh, and I forgot the rubber bungs on the metal panel, so I'll just put these in place. Attach the door bracket. Put the little indicator stalk top on and replace the door panel, hooking it on the top seam where the window is. Replace the little screw behind the door handle. Push the panel all into place and put the screws in at the bottom. Put the little connector on there for the wing mirror. Fit the door handle screws. Put the handle on, sliding that into place, and then the electrical switches, push that on and shove that back into place. Pushing down nice and firmly. And we're done. Just got to test it now. Electric window works. reset the one touch window switch. Just see if the lock works, etc. with the central locking. Which it does. Here's the indicator stick working now. And we're all done. I can go and do Auntie Mildred's shopping now. I hope you liked this video. If you did, give us a thumbs up. It really helps out with the channel. Press the subscribe button if you haven't already subscribed. Feel free to share the video. I hope you found this video useful. And as always, thank you for watching.